Today is the last Tuesday in the month. You know what that means? That means Case-Shiller home price appreciation indices and data have been released. And we've got a third month of we'll call it slowdown in home price appreciation. We'll talk about that in a second. Welcome to Housing Bubble 2.0 News of the Week, or as I like to call it, another episode of As the Housing Market Turns. Today is the 28th of December. The month and the year 2021 has almost come to an end. Been a crazy real estate year for sure. Crazy month, crazy everything with respect to what's going on in the world, the economy, politics, COVID, whatever. We all get it, right? Anyway, Randy Patrick here, putting the realism back in real estate. Hope you are doing well. Hope everyone has had a good Christmas holiday or whatever holiday that you actually subscribe to or enjoy. It's just one of those things that, we're getting into some nitty gritty now. The housing crash and shift or correction, whatever you want to call it, however you want to play it, has kind of already begun. But the difference this time around, though, and it's unfortunate, this is a managed, we'll call it shift or correction, very controlled by the powers that be. That's part of the issues as to why we have these problems or issues in real estate. So we'll talk about that, but really want to focus on opportunities for the upcoming year and get prepped for that. So I think I told you about this a little while ago. I think it was the last video, actually. This is a short sale we closed on recently. You could take a look at, we got a huge discount off the balance that was owed in the mortgage and all the fees, etc., 49%. Huge amount of equity with respect to the ARV or after repaired value in the property. So this stuff is possible even in this market, which is highly unusual. I know people are going, well, where can I find these deals? Well, they're out there, but you actually have to spend a little bit of time and effort looking for them. And how do you do that? Well, go to some data sources like this, gethousingdata.com. Gethousingdata.com. You'll find deals like the one I just showed you in that type of data, and that's what you go after or try to contact the homeowner, the seller, whatever, to get your hands on distressed off-market properties because we're essentially running two different real estate markets right now. That's one thing I've been speaking about for the past little while. Listen, guys, I do read the comments occasionally. And, I'm not an idiot, and I kind of know what's going on in the real estate market. So we're running two separate markets, all right? Let's be clear about that. So, of course, people say you've been talking about the bubble popping or crashing for the past 3 years. Well, you know what? Normally it would happen, but this is not a normal real estate cycle, and it's not a normal real estate market anymore. It's been highly orchestrated and highly managed, and that's why we're in the situation we are today. So really, how to work through this market is knowing what we're up against, and that, I think, is what I do and I do well. So that's what we're going to get involved with as the new year comes on. There'll be lots of opportunities, but right now we'll get back to Case-Shiller. All right, so again, Case-Shiller just came out today. Case-Shiller is a drag-along, tag-along calculation because it's a lot of work for people who run the indices here to figure it out. So usually it's 2 months behind. So we're in December. We're talking about October. So we have a 19.1% annual home price gain in October, which is down from 19.7% the previous month. All right, Phoenix, Tampa, and Miami report the highest year-over-year gains in the 20 cities in October. Phoenix led the way again with over 30% year-over-year gains, followed by Tampa with a 28.1 and Miami with 25.7. So basically, Phoenix, I don't know what the actual, we'll call it record is, but Phoenix has been running the most appreciation every month for the past 2 or 3, 4 years now with respect to Case-Shiller. So that market has been on fire. It's tough to buy properties. I get it there, but there's always opportunities, where to look. So ultimately, they're going to say the same thing. Okay, here it is. Phoenix, 32.3 increase, led all cities for the 29th consecutive month. Tampa and Miami continued second and third place, edging out Las Vegas and Dallas and San Diego. Prices were strongest in the south and the southeast. There's no, I guess you could say, no surprise there. We have previously suggested that the strength in the U.S. housing market is being driven in part by a change in local preferences as households react to the COVID pandemic. Well, you know what? I guess, and they're saying that the COVID pandemic just accelerated this home price appreciation. Well, they've been saying that, like the Case-Shiller commentary has been saying that for how many months now? So I guess, this is it. So this is what's going on here. So COVID is kind of a thing of the past, even though we are seeing new variants come out and stuff going on with that. I think blaming the housing market on COVID is it's an after the fact thing now. So we can't even blame it anymore. People have used COVID to figure out what they want to do, where they want to go, and how they want to conduct their business, their personal lives, etc. And that's what we're seeing now impact a lot of these locations. So there's no surprise. Again, as I mentioned, knowing it is half the battle. So here's the Case-Shiller indices, which shows the three indices, the 10, 20, and National Composite Index. It just shows you the annual. This is a graph of the annual price increases or home price appreciation month over month. Month over month from current month to month, but it's year over year price appreciation. You can see how when we have highs and lows, they're extremes, right? It's not like a nice linear growth. It's up, it's down, it's up, it's down. Especially the past 1 or 2 years, we see it's pretty much exponential. But if you take a look into that a little deeper, which is interesting, I know this is a bit fuzzy because I blew that up, but you can see that we kind of hit our almost 20% year over year increase a couple months ago, and now that we've seen 3 months of a decrease from the peak. So I guess obviously it's too soon to say we've hit the peak, but I kind of think we're already at the peak, and we've sort of surpassed it, and now we're starting to see the acceleration slowing down. So deceleration of home price appreciation, which is kind of an oxymoron. Is that what it's called, right? We're seeing a slowdown and an increase, right? So anyway, it has dipped the third month, and the way things are trending, I would hope that would continue the same way, down every month. Now, this is your three indices, the 10, 20, and national. You can see that the previous peak was in 2006 in July, and you can see where we're at now. So we certainly have gone through the trough in 2012, and we are way up exponentially now over the past couple of years to all-time highs for home price appreciation, according to Case-Shiller. Let's get a little deeper into it here. So where do we see? Well, we are 48.3% increase from the previous peak. I blew this up now because I'm realizing sometimes it's hard for everybody to see when I show this chart here, because I just basically am taking screenshots and blowing them up. So from the trough on the national level, if you bought at the lowest point, which is February 2012, you basically doubled your money, okay? You're over 100% from the trough, so good for you if you timed your purchase right. Obviously, from the peak, we're almost 50% from the peak, so again, it's a pretty significant increase in property values. Obviously, there's a 20 city and 10 city. You can see their indices are up as well, too. So that's where we're at with respect to what's happening in the marketplace, so pretty significant. Will this slow down? Well, we hope that in the new year, things will happen that will sort of aid in the slowdown and bring some prices down and bring some inventory for people so they can purchase homes at little better prices than what we see now. So this, again, is pretty important here. Oh, but by the way, guys, if you're not already a subscriber and you like the information I'm sharing with you on the channel, could you please hit that subscribe button? I'd really appreciate that. And if you are a subscriber or think you are, could you please double check? And as I always mention in every video, I lose more subscribers than I put on for various reasons. So please reaffirm or reconfirm your subscription to my channel. Thank you very much. I do appreciate everyone's views, comments, likes, shares, and subscriptions. All right. So as we go along here, let's take a look at what's happening on the city level. So this is what people obviously want to know, what's happening in your neck of the woods. This is the 20 city index. Basically, it's the percent of change year over year for the month of October. Atlanta had a 21.3% increase. We have Boston at 15.1%, 22.5% for Charlotte, Chicago 11.5%, Cleveland 13.3%, Dallas 24.6%, Denver 20.3%, Detroit 14.7%. So even the Detroits and the Chicagos, which are high markets with respect to distressed properties, and a lot of people leaving those markets, are still showing double-digit increases, which is interesting. Vegas at 25.5%, LA 18.5%, Miami 25.7%, Minneapolis 11.45%. Sorry, New York 14.6%, Phoenix 32.3%. Phoenix was the leader once again for what they say the 29th consecutive month. Portland 17.7%, San Diego 24.2%, San Fran 18.5%, Seattle 22.8%, Tampa second place this month at 28.1%, Washington at 12.0%. So we really, again, what we're seeing here is in the top 20 cities, nothing is below double digits. And we're seeing a lot now in the high teens, but a lot in the 20s. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 of the half, 50% of the 20 cities here are 20% or greater year over year. That's a significant number. It just goes to show that Phoenix, for whatever reason, is attracting a lot of different people. I read an article today about where people are coming and going from, and that's one of the number one locations as well, as we all knew. So I'll talk about that in future videos. But it just goes to show that, funny how markets that maybe weren't as attractive or hitting the huge double digits, maybe 6 months ago, a year ago, are up there, like a Miami and like a Tampa. So it's kind of been a resurgence for people, and it's because people are coming to Florida. There's a lot of, we'll call it, people cashing out, leaving from the Northeast and the Midwest, coming to the South. And we're benefiting that in Florida, obviously, but then, of course, in turn, it's causing an increase in price points here. People describe Florida as the next California. We'll have to see, but I know from a real estate investment perspective, a lot of people are moving their money out of California because they can't cash flow to get good returns. They're coming to Florida and buying properties that they can rent, and people are also relocating for various reasons. A lot of it is price, tax, other reasons as well, too, as we all know, coming down to more open states, better weather, etc. One thing I never talked about this year because it was slow is, every year the National Hurricane Association has a prediction on we're going to see X number of named storms during the year. So, a certain percentage of those are going to be, major hurricanes, etc., making landfall in the U.S., whatever. Well, this year, it was actually kind of quiet. We had, obviously, if you were hit by a storm, it wasn't quiet for you personally, but on the average, I think we had a fair amount of named storms, but a lot of them spun around in the Atlantic. They come off the coast of Africa, they spin, they go north, they may run through the southern Caribbean, but we were fairly fortunate on the mainland of the U.S. here that we got hit by very few hurricanes. A lot of them came across as maybe storms, tropical depressions, etc., but we really didn't have the predicted major hurricane and damage as we did back in the day. But regardless, a lot of the people are still moving down to the south where those potentials of hurricanes and storms and damage are more prevalent, especially if you're buying along the coastal areas of Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, Texas, etc. So one of the things I do want to mention is my next series is going to be 2022 housing market real estate predictions coming soon. So I'm starting to prepare for that. We'll do a video playlist series on that. Just want to give you the heads up for the future. Also got a lot more training and stuff coming up as well too. But my point here is the shift's already started, all right? And this is not going to be a long video. I mean, certainly our short video by my standards. I like to talk, or just the way how long it takes me to explain everything is usually 25 minutes, if not an average. This is a little shorter one here, but I just want to make sure people touch base because Case-Shiller came out. It's interesting to see that, again, does this mean we're having a housing crash and we see home price appreciation decelerate still in the double digits? No, not at all. But I think we're starting to see the fact that, number one, people can't afford properties. Two, maybe some supply chain issues are affecting housing now. Maybe interest rates, if they go up, will affect housing. Inflation will affect housing purchases, etc. So it's not one thing that causes a shift or change in the market. It's usually a number of things that happen either at the same time or shortly in succession that causes a change in the marketplace. So again, going back from previous history in the old, but again, things are starting to shift in the other direction now, as opposed to it going high and all the issues. Now we're starting to see the ball bounce on the other side of the court, and it's maybe making some changes, as I mentioned here. One of the things that, as I mentioned earlier, that there really are two distinct housing markets in play right now. So if let's be clear here. Will the market crash overnight? Absolutely not. Well, I believe we're going to have specific metro locations that will have some adjustments going on. The dollar values or the percentage points are still to be determined. That's part of the science of all this, I guess, and the difficulty trying to predict this, but we'll talk about that. My predictions video playlist coming up. We have the mainstream retail market, which is, number one, what's talked about in all the news channels, all the news wires, all the websites, etc. And we have the shadow inventory. Now, the interesting part about this is that the two of them never actually converge at this point in time, and there's reasons for that. We have had the foreclosure and eviction moratorium. So all the distress has been kept at bay for a certain period of time. We're coming almost on 2 years now. And that has, of course, resulted in less inventory coming to the market and less lower price inventory coming to the market, and that's caused everybody to compete for the same small pool of property. So, when I talk about the market being or housing being manipulated to control whatever, it certainly is. Now, we all know, and back in the day, the last housing crisis, my biggest takeaway from all the chaos that we went through, and trust me, we went through a lot of chaos, and I was involved in a lot of interesting things and did a lot of stuff that you guys have no idea behind the scenes with respect to understand the market and how the government works and how players work behind the scenes. As I mentioned, there's a lot going on that we just will never control. But my biggest takeaway was Wall Street and the hedge funds and how they're basically buying housing. Housing's no longer about home ownership for you and me. Housing is about making money. And that's the difference. So back in the last housing crisis, with people losing their homes, how can we help them? How can we stop that? How can how can we save their credit with short sales or loan mods or things like that? Well, you know what? It's not even a discussion point anymore. Ultimately, what people want, or the people, lenders, Wall Street, if people are distressed, not paying the mortgage, they want them to go to foreclosure. They want investors to buy it. Investors will get mortgages and financing. They'll put renters in there. It's a whole different ballgame now. So really, the emphasis is no longer on home ownership, because we've not talked about that for a while. Where's the percentage of home ownership? The emphasis is on making money with real estate, whether it's hedge funds, personal investment, Airbnb, whatever you want to do. That's where the emphasis is now. So our market has actually changed from everyone's dream is to have their own home, have their kingdom, garden. Man is the king of his castle, woman's the queen of her castle, whatever it is. It's changed now, guys. It's simple as that. Now, housing's a commodity, and that's sort of the dice that we've been rolled, and we now have to play in that market. And really, if you want to get better, cheap price property, you have to understand people that you're bidding against or working against, and try to figure out how to maneuver in this market to get your fair share. Now, this is an example here. So, is there potential here? There's tons of potential. Are there pre-foreclosures? There's tons of them out there. They don't come to the surface. And I think what people don't really know or understand is that we could have 500,000 or 1 million. We have more than that actually right now. I just saw something that came across my email today. Someone saying, well, there's 3.1 million homes in pre-foreclosure. Okay, well, those numbers are debatable. There's probably more, and that'll manifest out in the new year because those numbers are being suppressed. But for example, this is a pre-foreclosure home. But if the homeowner is not, as I say, rising to the surface, asking for help from either real estate agents or investors or other purchasers, then nothing is done, and it falls back in the hands of the lender at the auction, or somebody buys at the auction. So what that means is that people like you and I, we don't get to have access to it because it's not available on the open market. I mean, open market on the MLS, okay? Like listed with a real estate agent so you can go buy this home, all right? And there's reasons for that, which obviously I can explain in other videos, or if you want to contact me in greater detail. But the point is, there's lots out there, and this is a shame that this is where the market's going to go unless we figure it out and maneuver, between. And this is the thing, there's a lot, like, we're not hedge fund behemoths, right? But there's a lot available for us to maneuver, because hedge funds and big investors won't go down to certain levels in certain areas to get these properties where people like me will. Okay, so that's the difference. So anyway, something to think about for the future. There'll be more that will be made available coming forward in 2022 because things are further opened up and things will change. As I mentioned last video, any sort of restrictions on evictions and foreclosure filings and foreclosures, things going to auction, pretty much will be all removed. Most states are open now anyway, but the remaining states, a lot of those things will be removed in the new year. So it's going to be open season for opportunity. If you're not interested in this or would need to know more, please reach out to me. But that's what I'm saying. This is available if you want to look at it. Now, for example, this is the Tampa market. So, it ebbs and flows. So, what I mean, these are not available because they're not out there. So this is my, I guess it's the November most recent data here for the Greater Tampa MSA. And what it boils down to is it tells us where things are at. So ultimately, this is single family homes, so not villas, condos, manufactured mobiles, just single family homes. So the median sales price, median is right in the middle, okay, 50% more, 50% less. Median sales price is $355. For a foreclosure, REO, real estate owned, you buy off the MLS, bank owned, already foreclosed on property, was $250K, so a good spread there. Short sales for this month, because it changes based on the dynamic or what's going on there, was $322.5. So, but you can see 10 closings out of 4,510 closings represent 0.2% of the market in the area was short sales, which is nothing, of course, right? The median sales price is only about $32K in equity, so still equity about 10% over retail. However, when you saw what I did on that last short sale, we have huge equity, okay, massive equity, and just goes to show that even the basic short sale will still provide you some relief on price point. You work it through a system, work the angles, do what you need to do, and we can get a lot more. That's the whole point here. So really, if you want to buy properties, you don't want to buy and then pay retail price points for them, you got to go down the path of the distressed properties. I've been saying that forever. And as I said, most of the pre-foreclosure will get lost to foreclosure, and we'll never have a chance on them unless we take advantage of them right now and take action. All right. So just going to show you that stuff is still possible. As I said, so much potential for 2022. We know what we were up against. This is not a normal market cycle. Okay, so I want to be clear here is that everything runs in cycles, right? The world runs in cycles. You've got, economic cycles, revolutionary cycles, political cycles, environmental cycles, climate cycles, the whole bit. Even real estate has its own cycle, but this is not a normal cycle anymore. It's being controlled and manipulated, and that's what we're up against. And the I guess you could say the quicker we understand that, the better you can participate within that market and figure stuff out. There's always a solution or an angle. That's the good thing about what's out there in the public. There's always innovators who will think about how to, for good or bad, figure out the angle and how to make money or how to beat the game. In this case, we're trying to beat the system, which is Wall Street, the government, the courts, the lenders, etc. We're beating them legally, ethically, morally. It's all good, but just we have to be one step ahead of them. That's the whole point. To me, it's like a 3D chess game, 4D chess game. We got lots going on, different levels here, and we're just trying to figure stuff out on the fly here. So back in the last housing crisis, a well-known lawyer in the investment world here, we were in a mastermind together, and he did mention, he goes, isn't this, when we were in the heydays of foreclosures and short sales, he goes, man, this is like a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity that we're working on right now. Well, that was 10 years ago, all right? 10 plus years ago. So here we are, we're entering in 2022, and I think we have a second chance at this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. So that's kind of a neat concept there. If you know what you're doing and know how to figure this out, there'll be many opportunities for homeownership, cash flow, income, and appreciation, and just making money. So there you go, guys. So having said that, once again, reach out to me if you want to discuss what we're doing here. We got tons of stuff going on for the new year. Everything from, the short sales to build to rent to development to a lot of things happening, in the off-market world here. So please reach out to me. It's going to grow big time starting in a couple of days. So once again, everybody, thanks for the views, likes, comments. Please share the video with your family and friends. Not a subscriber, please subscribe. And we look forward to getting into the prediction track on what's going to happen in the new year and going forward with this crazy market. All right, guys, take care. We'll talk to you soon.